I'm going to say the same thing Stephen did, but just thank everybody. Thank you, Stephen. Especially thank you, Peter and Kat, for being so open to taking this book on. Stephen was really pushing for this for quite a few years, and we ran it by City of Lights. A couple of places that would be pretty obvious, you would think. We want to take it on, but they're like, oh, we can't really turn this into a book. It seems so ridiculous that response at all. So anyway, kudos. Really proud and happy to see the book in this form. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve. This wouldn't have happened without that guy.
This, weren't they sitting down when you did this?
Yeah, they were at the breakfast table.
Eating Cheez-Its?
Ready?
That's what he used to have, yeah. Can you hear this?
Yeah.
Probably true. After he's on a Tony tour.
Just projectile, you'll be fine.
Okay. So, what did you think of the shaman? You didn't see him put the coals in his mouth?
No, I did not.
How did you feel about it?
Well, I thought, my God, it's great that he's touched me and I didn't feel any burns or anything.
He actually touched you with the body of the coal?
Oh, yes, and I felt nothing. And I said, well, I'm certainly not injured because there's nothing happening to me. And I was very impressed, but I couldn't see. I didn't know where the coals were. They were in his mouth.
How did you feel in terms of this sort of emotionally or psychologically during that time? I was quite moved in the sense, you know, what I was thinking is all these people, very much your affectionate friends, really wishing you well.
Well, that's what I felt too. They were really great, and I just felt, you know, sort of laying myself open just completely. Undirected thought. I did nothing. No sort of intellectualizing.
What occurred to me is that we were sort of like focusing on your well-being, but also I was realizing at the time, you know, what almost brought me to tears was, I don't know if you realize how many people I've ever met who really love your work and felt a great deal of affection, but it must be hundreds of thousands or millions of people.
Yes, well, yeah, I feel it. I feel it very deeply. I like the shaman very much, the way he was crying.
Later in the evening?
Yeah.
When he was thinking of his mother and his grandfather, father dying too.
Deeply sad, deeply.
Well, we're lucky to have seen that, lucky to have heard that.
That was something. He had coals in his mouth.
Yes, but I didn't see it in his mouth. See, Steve did.
Well, even in his hand.
Did you see them in his hand?
Well, I don't know. He came and blew on me with a coal. It was very close, and I was surprised and reacted to the burning.
Did you see him holding it? Or was it being held in his palm, or?
I couldn't tell. Oh my God, look at that.
It's in the paper you bought at the supermarket.
Well, sure, these are alien steel space buggy and flag off surface of moon. Jimmy Hoffa found alive.
What's that one called? The News or something?
The News. Runner-up in beauty contest dies of jealousy. Eskimos killing walruses to get money for drugs, say U.S. wildlife officials.
Eskimos.
90-year-old twin sisters launch recording career.
100-year-old twin sister nuns.
Eskimos have been running around slaughtering rare Alaskan wildlife and selling the spoils for money to feed their nasty habits, U.S. officials say.
Oh, that's part of the war against drugs.
Undercover agents worked for the past 2 years to bust a massive ring of poachers who've skinned and beheaded walruses, polar bears, and seals for their valuable fur and ivory. An ivory tusk could sell for as much as 5,000, officials say. They nabbed 29 of the culprits and are hunting down another 80. Good God, what nonsense.
You eat those regularly?
Oh, yeah. There's always some funny stuff. They're so funny, see?
Have you gotten very much stuff for your books from those?
I told you about my hairy beast. I conceived of this disease in Ghost of a Chance. The hairs just grow all over people, and then there are spores, choke to death. So then I pick up this thing and it says, rare disease turns woman into hairy beast.
Uh-huh. Well, your writing prophesies that, but I mean, did you ever take anything out of there and exaggerate it? Do you remember any?
Well, yes, I think of some. Doomed cancer patient suicide miracle. Man shoots brain tumor out of head and saves his life.
I see. He had a brain tumor and he committed suicide and shot the tumor out. Auto operation.
Really. Freezing to death, don't drink booze. Nincompoop animal lovers want to outlaw the term pets. You ought to call them companion animals.
How many you got around the house, Bill?
How many what?
Companion animals.
There are 6. 6 companions.
And all cats.
Yes.
And none of them pets but companions. Your equals, peers.
Fletch, get away from the dip. Get away from the dip.
So who would you like to go to bed with at this point? Anyone?
No one.
Pardon me?
No one. I'm not interested in sex at this point. Very little.
Do you have wet dreams?
No.
Or dreams?
What?
Do you have any sexual dreams at all?
No.
Not even that? I still seem to be in the running somehow.
Well, that's good for you, but...
Well, neither good nor bad. It's just there, you know.
Bravo, bravo.
Partly because I'm not that interested. And so things sort of tend to come to me now.
Bravo, but I don't.
Would you like strawberries or raspberries for dessert or both?
I want raspberries. Oh, my beast, my spooner. Oh, I love my spooner beast. Oh, my beast. I love you, I love you. All of my love goes to animals now.
Well, the two of you make a nice couple, I must say.
Look at that. That's Tufts. Now look at him. The way he puts his paws up to me. Yes, my beast.
That's the most affectionate of them?
Well, no, Ruski is more affectionate. But I love this. God, my God. You disturb him somewhat. Come on. Come on, come on, baby. I love you. I love my cat. I love my spoony cat. I love my spoony cat. You see, he's giving out pure love. Look, oh God, my spooner. I love him. He's disturbed by what you're doing.
That's because I'm moving around a lot. Well, Bill, you have a very nice setup here.
Oh yeah, this is great.
Well, and you've got all this all by yourself. You have the house, you have the solitude. You got people, a lot of people coming in to help.
That's right, yes.
Good people, intelligent.
I need that. And they made it possible for me to bring Ruski back. That means so much to me. My Ruski. I'll never let him go. My God, I love that cat. I could never kill I could never kill a bear or a deer. I can't kill any animal.
What do I do with a cat when I'm allergic to cats?
I like to shoot, but I can never kill an animal. And a deer, good heavens, never.
Have you ever shot an animal? Once you shot a porcupine or something? Was that Lucian?
No. I did once in South America shoot a beautiful animal like a monkey, but it wasn't hurt bad, and it ran away, and I've always hoped that it was all right, survived. I've regretted that all my life. It was 50 years ago, and still sometimes I wake up at night, oh my God, why did I do that? The bad things that I have seen, most are very small. You say, oh well, thus the ugly spirit comes in. I realized that I was taken over by something to do these things, and that's where the ugly spirit comes in. And it gives me a terrible feeling. It gives me horrible feelings to think that I'm not in control, that I've gone and shot this animal. Terrible, terrible. Just don't want anything like that to ever happen again. I want to be rid of that emphasis forever. It's so much tuned into the sort of the whole Western, European WASP tradition. I remember when I was at Los Alamos with the Boy Scouts, and suddenly there was a badger came running in, and the counselor, and the badger just wanted to play. The counselor rushes over and gets this .45 automatic, and it's so inaccurate he can't hit it from here to there. And finally he puts the gun right against it and kills it, shoots it. Good God, these people, all they can think of when they see an animal is to kill it. The badger was just playing around. What's that?
I brought that for you. It's an up-to-date report on Salman Rushdie's situation.
Where the hell is he? It's not America, is it?
I saw him.
Yeah?
He apparently been reading my poetry, and he was in New York and asked to see me. So Andrew Wiley told me So I went to a hotel, a secret hotel, and had to pass the guards downstairs, and about 10 big burly guys upstairs in the corridor and in the inner room.
Who from? What police force?
Well, New York City police force at the moment, and there was Andrew and Rushdie. Andrew showed me the curtains. The curtains were made of bulletproof lead or some bulletproof thing. So they were closed, and he was in this big, flowery hotel room. He said he'd been reading my poetry, that he found it lively, and he had 2 copies of my collected poems. We have the same agents, and he'd sent me a message before that. He liked it, and he said it was, of the moment, lively. Then I asked him, did he know how to meditate? He said, no, actually, he'd never got that. So I said, would you like to learn? He said, yeah, why don't we do that? So I sat him and Andrew down for like 5-minute instruction. And one of the things I said in the whole suggestions was relax the eyeballs with some sense of periphery of the optical field, rather than staring at a point and straining the eye. So when we were all over with it, we'd sat for about 5 minutes. He said, that was very interesting, the business of the periphery of the optical field, and that was just one of the many elements, but he must have a relatively subtle mind to pick up on that. Eyeball kicks, so to speak.
So yeah, meditation can solve a trap by just seeing it. If you see a trap.
Well, like that spirit we were talking about.
You see, when you see it, it's gone.
Except what he was saying is that there are these several $1 million worth of paid assassins out to get him. Professionals, not even having to do with Islam. Just real professionals who want the money.
I tell you, they probably would never collect it. If one of those paid assassins killed him, they would deny that they had anything to do with it and kill the assassin.
So I asked him if there was anything I can do or we can do. He said that the only thing to do is publicity, noise. He can't defend himself by force. The only thing is protests, publicity, public fur, pressure on the American and British governments to make it a condition of recognition.
Stupid, barbarous nonsense. Now, if they were literate enough to read Naked Lunch, I would certainly be on that list with Islam Incorporated, talking about making fun of the Muslim religion. Holy shit.
No, but you're an infidel. He was born as a Muslim. So apparently their complaint against him is that it's from within the faith. It's inconceivable that he could be so insulting to something he knows and is part of himself. He's a traitor. You're just a negligible heathen anyway, boy, and you'll never be anything better.
Fine with me, but I don't know. What a bunch of nutcases.
What would you do if you were in his case?
Well, eventually I'd take to carrying a gun all the time. That's all I could do. That would be something. I'm able to, with a gun, to defend myself.
The only thing is that they're professional assassins, so it'd be pretty hard constantly to be on guard.
Oh, absolutely. Real professionals are hard to deal with. Very hard. Because they know where you are, and you don't know where they are. You're a sitting duck.
I've never read all the Don Juan books. Not one of them, actually.
Very interesting, particularly The Crossing. You reach something called the place of no pity. That's very interesting. And here in Martin's book, it is repeated almost word for word. Something subtly merciless and lodged in there. That's the priest, the exorcism priest. Compare it to Don Juan's place of no pity. It really comes down to the place of no self-pity. It isn't pity, it's self-pity.
What did you think of the shaman last night saying, I'm a pitiable creature and this pitiful man beside me?
He meant that sort of thing.
Suffering.
No, not that so much as
Humble.
limited. It's sort of like humility. Humility, that he recognized the limits of his power, that's all. You don't want to get uppity.
What book is that? Hostage to Evil?
Now this is Hostage to the Devil, the case of 5 exorcisms. Also, I remember Dr. Rioch saying, there comes a point in therapy, if the therapy is deep enough, there may come a point where the therapist encourages the patient, the subject, to express his aggression. In some cases, he will immediately attack the therapist. He says that requires expert handling.
R.D. Lang did that with Peter. He provoked Peter, but Lang was drunk and Peter was drunk and Peter attacked Lang. We had to call the police. Lang kept saying, well, in a normal situation in England, I would have had several burly...
Well, exactly. Always in any exorcism, they have two strong men there to restrain the subject if he or she becomes violent. And they have great strength, so it takes two. They're often ex-policemen or, policemen. They're just there in case the... So I like all these intercessions where in a way they're doing the same thing.
What's the guy who wrote that?
His name is Malachi Martin. He was a Jesuit.
Intercession with Don Juan, you mean?
Yes, with Don Juan and with shamanism. They're trying to get an evil spirit out.
So this is a formal exposition of Catholic procedure, a practicing Catholic view of exorcism,
No, it's 5 cases of exorcism.
but done under Christian, Catholic...
Done by a priest, and then he has to have his helpers to restrain the person, and it's very interesting because it corresponds very directly to the shaman. Now, you see, the priest must be able to control the spirit, and he's attacked by the spirit very violently. And if he doesn't watch what he's doing, he can be fucked completely, or even literally. There's a case here where the spirit leapt on the priest and fucked him up the ass.
How did they put that?
Just exactly. There's no prissiness here.
Who was the guy that wrote it? An ex-priest or an assistant or somebody who's done research?
No, he was a Jesuit, Dr. Martin, and always the psychiatrist, if there is one present, fucks everything up. Because they don't know what the hell they're doing or what they're up against. They think it's just some goddamn complex.
What are these entities?
We don't know, that's just it. They say that they are evil spirits. It would seem they are spirits that came into existence with Christ.
Spirits of what?
With Christ, the Christian spirits. Evil Christian spirits.
Christ did exorcism, didn't he?
Of course he did.
He took the money changers out of the temple, but he also went down to hell and
He
cast...
sent the spirits into the swine, remember? They said, well, where can we go? And he put them into the swine.
And then the swine ran off a cliff into the ocean.
What the poor spirits did then, I don't know. So it's very, very interesting. Now listen to this. In this he speaks of the evil spirit multiplying its own shape in an endless succession. Soul-killing succession. Baneless graves in a row. In other words, a virus.
Baneless graves in a row. That's good prose.
It's a virus multiplying its own image.
What is a virus, actually?
It's, well, in the first place, it's an obligate cellular parasite.
Obligate meaning what?
Well, meaning that the only way it exists or functions, unless it's in a state of
Obligatory parasite or obligate?
obligate cellular parasite.
So a parasite unto cells.
Yeah. Now, that's not true of bacteria. It's not true of parasitic entities like malaria or spirochetes. They can exist apart from cells.
They can exist in solution, in vitro, in mucus.
And all sorts of things. Not a virus, and that was the trouble they had in cultivating a virus, because it only grows in living tissue. But you can't cultivate it in a petri dish.
So then in what sense could you call word a virus?
It repeats itself, but only in the sense of it repeating itself word for word. What a virus does is repeat its own image, word for word.
However, would that be in this image of word as a virus or ideas as viruses? You catch a virus, you catch a word, that wouldn't be down to the cell level. That would be another kind of paradigm, another kind.
Say here is an obligate cellular parasite. You have an idea of that, an idea of that, a serial relationship. So it's sort of a rough metaphor to say.
Yeah, it's not literally in the cell.
No.
You ever think of it as literally in the cell?
Well, sure, originally, yes, the concept of word in the cell.
Where did that come from, the idea of word as, wasn't that Korzybitsky?
No.
No. It was what, yours or partly Brian's?
Partly mine, but it's no concept at all.
Where'd you first hear it?
Well, I said it acts like a virus.
Yeah.
That's all. And a virus is an obligate parasite, an obligate cellular parasite. And a language cannot exist without
The speaker.
the speaker, without speakers.
Without a host, yeah.
More than one.
Uh-huh. Well, you can talk to yourself, I guess.
But how? You can talk to yourself, but the concept, unless the concept of another person were there, you wouldn't. The concept of a language, communication, you couldn't talk to yourself unless you had a concept.
Uh-huh. I like the idea of a virus in the sense of, because it's obviously in marketing research, that's exactly what they do, like for political purposes, to make a little slogan.
Why, sure. Now, I know you've heard about the computer viruses.
Yeah, now what do? They just sort of, it spreads through the telephone modems.
It can get in the program, and then it's hard to get rid of. They have to kind of call in a priest to exercise the computer of its virus. I don't know how the computer would attack the priest.
The virus could go back to the FBI files and get everything on the priest and then spit it out on the printer and...
The evil spirit knows all about the priest. He knows all his early sexual experiences. That is, one of the priests went down on a woman when he was 16, and the evil spirit says, "Ha ha, Peter the Eater." And just goes through all these sexual history, very obscene. It's full of very overt obscenity when they get going. You know, what a wretched person.
The exorcist is...
Yeah, now, then, if the priest tries to challenge the spirit on his own grounds, he can really get into trouble with it. He can go mad.
Like what? You mean into a metaphysical argument?
Well, no. That isn't dangerous. That's just not productive. No. But now look, unless the person in question wants to get rid of there's one person here, the evil spirit says, "He is ours completely." Well, the priest, being experienced, knows better than to try to get in there and challenge that, because the person in question is completely possessed. The only thing the priest has to work with, the desire of what's left of the person's will, desire to be cured or freed.
That's a little bit like Alcoholics Anonymous. Only until you realize you have a disease and that you can't do it by yourself and that you need help.
That's right.
That book was written by an ex-Jesuit who did it, who was a specialist in this.
Oh yes, the priest has been on television, an exorcism on television. I saw little bits and pieces of it. You saw doors opening up and drawers in a bureau opening and closing, all these physical manifestations, doors slamming, things like that. And the priest there, you know, saying Jesus stuff, but they finally got the spirit out.
Apparently this guy, Malachi Martin, is the religious editor of William Buckley's National Review also. You'd think he'd exorcise Buckley.
Now the Catholics tend to think that any spirit is evil. One of the great sources of error, of course, is narcissism, fixed, trying to hang on to an image. You see, a malevolent intelligence is scanning the innards of his very self. This is the priest. The attack finally wells up and pours over him. Farther heart he is filled with disgust and loathing he cannot control. He starts to retch. He's whipped with a ferocity he could never have imagined. Now in one hurting glare of exposure he sees his wickedness laid bare. The tawdry logic he received in his philosophical training, the self-confidence, the ignorantly treated facts of theology, the self-indulgence and one-time hypocrisies as of his piety, the useless pride in his priesthood, all is so much drivel and dross, a dump of human trash that withers under the fire of that gaze, looking in at him and probing the darkest cranny of his weakness.
Hello.
Well, Father, what did you expect? A gold watch? I say. His soul, as a willing being, stands naked of all supports in reason of the lifetime scrutinized by the unwavering gaze of high, unlovely, and unlearning intelligence. So that's what the priest has to put up with, you see. Everything goes.
That's pretty completely. You've been in that situation, haven't you?
Sure, man, but anybody is if you go far enough.
But did you ever find yourself in a situation like that?
Good God, yes. Anybody does.
It's very familiar.
Take a look. Just take a look at yourself. Where are you? Of course you do. Unless you see everything that he had relied on, it's vanities. It's all vanity. It's nothing. All that. Everything goes. The only thing he can hang on to is his will. The will to resist. But that will go too if he steps into the territory of the...
So, how did he resolve that? Just withdrew from the territory?
He just hung on. He hung on. It's a question of hanging on. Until the spirit leaves, spirit goes. Maybe that was a success, but not all of them are successful.
How much of that is like a bum trip on acid or psilocybin?
It's sort of
It's very similar.
Similar.
In a vague, lighter touch, I had, early encounter with Lucian and Jack, I had that because I was talking about being a labor lawyer.
Uh-huh.
And Jack looked at me, gave me this withering look and said, when I was 17. You've never worked a day in your life in a factory, Nothing about labor. What are you talking about? Being a labor lawyer. Saving the laboring man in a labor union. I suddenly realized that everything I relied on, from my family, from my reading, my education, my temperament, was all like cardboard.
Well, exactly, like cardboard.
That was like a crucial moment of insight.
Yeah.
And then I suddenly I realized how much pride I've been taking just sort of in the idea of it rather than the actual action.
So it's complete and dreadful confusion. His ears seem to smell foul words. His eyes seem to hear offensive sounds, obscene screams. His nose seems to taste a high decibel cacophony.
What do you think of the shaman Melvin was seeing in you? What do you think he was getting?
The spirit.
Something like this?
What?
Something like that?
Well, not exactly, no. But he described it as a spirit with like a white skull face.
Mm-hmm.
But no eyes, and sort of wings.
That's what Melvin saw?
Yes.
And did you get any glimpse of such a thing?
Well, I have many times.
Yeah, and you've painted it in a way.
Yes. I brought out some paintings and he would say, well, there it is, and there it is in the painting. For example, let's see, come in here and I'll show you some of the paintings that I showed him.